Greetings and welcome to the Fan Perspective. I'm your host Nathan Lyle, and this is WNBA Weekly, the show where twice a week, usually on Mondays and Fridays, I will talk about things that happened recently in the association and things I'm looking forward to in the upcoming days. We start with Friday, where you had 3 games in action. First, you had the Lynx taking on the Fever, and the Lynx looked like they were dominating, and they seemed to be running away with it at one point in time, holding a 24-point lead. But the Fever, they kept fighting. They were able to cut into the deficit and make it a really close game. But in the end, the Lynx are able to hold on and get the win, keep their undefeated record intact. Then you have Chicago, the Sky. They go into San Antonio to play the Stars. Delle Donne looks like she's getting back to MVP form. She pulls on 27 points. They had a 13-point lead going in the fourth quarter, and it looked like an easy victory. But the Stars, they came roaring back. Haley Peters, she had a game-high 16 points, all of which came in the fourth quarter, as the Stars managed to mount an impressive comeback in order to win their first game of the season. And then the night finishes off with the Wings versus the Dream, and Angel McCoughtry, she pulls on a game-high 26 points as Atlanta continues to just win one game after another in impressive fashion. Then on Saturday you had the Sun versus the Storm. It was the only game of the night, and both teams played fairly impressively. Storm just slightly better. Joe Lloyd led the game with 26 points as Seattle was able to hang on for their second win of the season. Then on Sunday you have the Fever versus the Dream. This is the last time Tamika Catchings gets to play in Atlanta. She scores her 7,000th career point. But Atlanta, impressively, they managed to grab another win, their 5th straight. And then you have the Chicago Sky. They finally end their losing streak with a victory over the Wings, who have now fallen back to 500, which is still currently a better record than the Sky. And the last game of the week was the Mystics versus the Mercury, a game which, if you watch at my last video, I pretty much said the Mercury have no choice but to win this one, and they did. They looked like the Mystics were in control when the game first started, but in the second half, the Mercury were able to break away, and they finally get the first win of the year, though they are still in last place, as you can see while we look at our current standings. This league can be so confusing at times, and it makes it more exciting and interesting, but it also makes it hard to report on, because like with the Dream, for as long as I've watched this game, the Dream seem to just make the Eastern Conference Finals every single year. And so last year, suddenly they just randomly start to suck, and I have no idea why. But then they make a bunch of moves in the offseason, and then suddenly now they're the best team in the East once again. And New York, they were a team stacked with talent. They had a winning coach, they had a winning roster with an amazing player like Tina Charles, and yet they're just at the bottom of the East every year. And then suddenly one year, boom, they're just the best ever, and now it seems like they've come back to earth a little bit, at least early on. They won the first 2, lost the next 2. It's still very early, and it's just the standings are all kind of a jumbled mess right now. I mean, at this point in time, no one is eliminated. The Phoenix Mercury, who, once again, last year they made the playoffs without their 2 best players. You expect them to be even better once those 2 come back, and yet they lose their first 4 to start the year. But even though they are in last place right now, there is still the potential that they could finish with the number 1 overall seed. It's still very early in the year. The only thing I know for sure is that the Sparks and the Lynx still undefeated, and it honestly looks like there could possibly be the potential that the first time they meet each other, that will be the first time that either of these teams loses. So now we move on to the games that are being played this week. As always, I will tell you which ones are being broadcast nationally all over the United States, and for the rest, you can check your local listings, or you can watch every single one of these games on WNBA League Pass. And of course, every time that I announce will be Eastern Standard Time, so be sure to adjust for your time zone. So we start with 2 very exciting games on Tuesday. First, you have the Lynx at the Liberty. That one's going to be on ESPN2 at 8 p.m. Then you also have the Sun at the Mercury at 10 p.m. Both of those teams still looking for their second win of the season. And on Wednesday, you've got a couple of games. You've got the Sky at the Mystics at 7 p.m. And after that, the Storm at the Fever. And then you end the week at Thursday with the Stars at the Sparks at 10:30 p.m. So that's it for this edition of WNBA Weekly. Yes, I know it's a little compressed, but that's because of factors. So, a new episode on Friday. And until then, this has been The Fan Perspective. I'm your host, Nathan Lyle. I hope you enjoy the week.